tonight. How new federal funding could help Prince Albert tackle its overdose crisis. The family of a missing northern Saskatchewan man searches for answers about his disappearance. And a Regina High School quarterback wins thousands to upgrade his football team's equipment.
This is CBC Saskatchewan News.
It is Wednesday, November 5th, and the CBC Saskatchewan News starts right now. I'm Ethan Williams. Thank you for joining us. The city of Prince Albert has approved a mobile crisis team to tackle its overdose crisis. The city's overdose death rate is roughly twice the provincial average, but a new federally funded program could make a difference. Aisha Ashraf has our top story.
Calls for mental health and addiction help are constant in Prince Albert. Now, a new city-led program will bring police, paramedics, and crisis workers together. A $3.6 million federal grant will pay for a mobile complex needs team, a 24-hour response unit bringing health, safety, and social support under one umbrella.
This new team is part of a wider push to make Prince Albert safer, not just by reacting to crises, but by preventing them before they happen. City leaders say that starts with stronger collaboration on the ground.
If people are presenting a risk to themselves and to the public, then that's a really coordinated kind of a mass approach, all hands on deck, because there's many levels, many layers of the onion.
The initiative will introduce 12 new positions across the three agencies. Police Chief Patrick Noger says it's a chance to step in earlier to offer help instead of enforcement.
We know that people are disproportionately succumbing to overdose situations. So this really gives us an opportunity up front to reach out to the public, to have interaction, build rapport, provide assistance. More so than having to respond, it gives us an opportunity to have intervention earlier than later.
He says success will depend on strategy and partnership.
We can't just be a team that's going to be driving around looking for individuals. There needs to be more of a strategic approach to this, and that'll come as a result of sitting down with our partnering agencies, sharing information, making sure that we're having a really focused approach to helping people that need it.
The program will complement the city's upcoming complex needs emergency shelter. Both aim to fill different gaps in support, reaching people at various stages of crisis.
I'd like to ask for help, but I don't really know how to ask for help for anything like that.
I don't want to burden my family with my problems, with who I'm with, more or less, who I represent. I don't want to burden my family with that problems, So I've just been on my own.
City officials hope this model will help turn that around, meeting people where they are and keeping more residents out of crisis. The mobile complex needs team is expected to be fully operational by early 2026. Aisha Ashraf, CBC News, Prince Albert.
A Saskatoon cancer patient says he spent 6 excruciating days in a hospital hallway. Lloyd Coquell has a rare bone marrow cancer. Last month, he went to Saskatoon's Royal University Hospital with a severe ear infection. Coquell's family says he spent nearly a week in a bed in a chaotic emergency department hallway without any privacy. They say he slept under bright lights and across from the dirty laundry storage. On Wednesday, the family met with the opposition NDP to demand changes to the healthcare system.
I'm not seeing a whole lot of empathy, and the only way you could really truly understand it is if you were in there. And unless you're willing to put yourself in that position, they won't.
The Saskatchewan Health Authority says it's aware of the difficult environment for patients and that it's working on improving the flow of patients at Saskatoon hospitals. It also has plans to add 109 acute care inpatient beds at City Hospital over the next year. A family from Pelican Narrows First Nation is searching for answers about their missing son and brother. They've put up signs and are asking members of the public to report any leads to police. Lisa Rism has their story.
It's been 3 years since Danny Ballantyne last saw his dad, Drew.
I liked how he was funny. I liked how he used to bike around. I like how he used to take me to stores, buy me clothes, and protect me from other dangerous stuff.
The 34-year-old went missing June 29th, 2022. Now the family from Pelican Narrows is focused on finding answers. They've put up a sign on 15th Street West in Prince Albert to encourage people with information to come forward. Drew's dad fears he may have been a victim of violence.
Well, there's a whole bunch of stories we heard of how they got rid of him.
The Prince Albert Police Service says Ballantyne was last seen in Saskatoon in the 1400 block of Avenue D North by a taxi cab driver. Investigators say they've interviewed 23 witnesses and followed up on 22 tips. They've looked at his phone records, social media activity, and bank records.
And sometimes, no matter the smallest information, sometimes could be that last or final pieces to the puzzle that can provide answers to a family.
The family has also hired a private investigator. They're following up on tips and have gone searching for human remains.
We drove all around outside of Prince Albert, within Prince Albert, Nipawin, Narrow Hills, Laurens, Saskatoon, Big River, like all the tips she had, she forwarded to the police.
Bring my dad home, don't keep secrets from us, and tell the truth.
Police and the family hope anyone with information will come forward. Tips can be reported anonymously through Crime Stoppers. Lisa Rism, CBC News, Prince Albert.
A Saskatoon prosecutor says she should be allowed to honor veterans by wearing a poppy in court. She says she was recently told she wasn't allowed to wear one. Dan Zakreski has the details.
It happened here at Court of King's Bench right behind me on Monday up on the 3rd floor. Now there's a prosecutor named Lana Morelli who was just starting a jury trial, and midway through the first day she got an email from Sask courts. The email told her to take the poppy off that she was wearing in court. Now the reason was they have a practice directive. This practice directive is one of the rules of the court, and the rule says that you cannot have an adornment on your gown. That means no poppy, no breast cancer awareness ribbon, no nothing. The thinking behind this is lawyers have to be seen as being impartial and neutral in court. They just want the black robes and the white shirts. Lana Morelli didn't like this. She said, look, my grandparents fought in the war. She knows veterans. She said it was tugging at her heartstrings that she was not able to wear a symbol of the men and women that died for this country in the very building that they fought to protect. I reached out to Sask Justice about this to get their thinking on it, and I found out sort of two answers. The first one was we have law in Saskatchewan that says you're allowed to wear poppies in the workplace if it doesn't endanger health and safety. But on the flip side, the government respects the independence of the courts. They can make their own rules. So we have sort of two contrasting positions here. How are we going to sort it out? Well, it might end up in court. Who knows? The prosecutor, Lana Morelli, took the poppy off. It's sitting on her copy of the Canadian Criminal Code on her desk. Dan Zakreski, CBC News, Saskatoon.
A high-profile cannabis impairment case is being discussed at the Saskatchewan Court of Appeal. It involves the death of Bailey Maurice, who was struck by a truck as she rode her scooter across a Saskatoon street in 2021. Taylor Kennedy was charged with impaired driving causing death. She told police she vaped cannabis and had taken mushrooms the day before the crash. But because the trial took longer than 18 months, the charge against Kennedy was stayed. The Crown is appealing and says the delay was not unreasonable, especially given the backlog of cases during the pandemic. It says the judge should have heard all the evidence and final arguments. Maurice's family says they hope the appeals court makes a quick decision on whether to reinstate the charges. NDP leader Carla Beck says Ottawa's federal budget could be a game changer if Saskatchewan gets its fair share. The federal government came out with its budget Tuesday. Beck is encouraged by the government's focus on infrastructure, but worries the province could miss out on key funding because it hasn't yet signed a new health care deal with Ottawa.
We're one of the provinces that have not signed on to a new bilateral agreement when it comes to healthcare funding, something that could potentially cost us $130 million in this province, at a time when we've already seen our healthcare system go from first to last.
Beck says the federal budget's promises on trade, transport, and energy infrastructure could open major opportunities for Saskatchewan, but that is only if the provincial government steps up to ensure Saskatchewan isn't left behind. Well, the geese and the ducks in the South Saskatchewan River there may be enjoying a nice day in the sun in Saskatoon, but they might want to think about flying south for the winter, especially those geese. So we are in for some wintry weather, some rain, some snow, and yes, some colder weather too is on the way. I'll have all the details in your forecast after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. The Saskatchewan Roughriders are ramping up preparations for this weekend's Western Final. The Riders will host the BC Lions at Mosaic Stadium Saturday night. A key for the green and white defense will be limiting Lions MVP finalist quarterback Nathan Rourke. All-star defensive back Roland Milligan says Rourke's versatility is what makes him so dangerous.
You know, a guy like that gets outside of the pocket, we know he can run. You know, he broke off a 70-yarder, scored a touchdown, so you know, he has that, and then he can still make plays throwing the ball downfield when he gets outside of the pocket. So being able to keep him in the pocket and make him just throw the ball the whole game makes it a little easier, because then we can throw different looks at him in the secondary, so he's not just, okay, I get out there and I see this, and okay, this is what the coverage is, you know.
The CFL also announced its all-star players Wednesday, and the Riders lead the way with 9. That includes Tavon Campbell, Micah Johnson, CJ Revis, Roland Milligan, who you just heard from, and Jameer Thurman for the defense, and Jamarcus Hardrick, Jacob Brommer, Logan Ferlin, and Keyshawn Johnson on offense. And there has been a major shakeup in the CFL. The Ottawa Redblacks have announced Ryan Dinwiddie is their new head coach and general manager. You may remember Dinwiddie from his time he spent as a Riders quarterback back in 2010. Dinwiddie had been the head coach of the Toronto Argonauts for the past 5 seasons. He led them to 2 Grey Cup championships and 4 straight Eastern finals. Dinwiddie will replace Bob Dice as the Red Blacks head coach. And the University of Saskatchewan Huskies took home a bunch of awards Wednesday. Receiver Daniel Wiebe was named the conference's most outstanding player and is now a finalist for the Heck Creighton Award for the nation's top player. He led the Canada West Division in catches, yards, and touchdowns. Linebacker Seth Hundeby was named Canada West's most outstanding defensive player. He led the conference in forced fumbles and tackles for a loss. And defensive end Charlie Parks was named Canada West's most outstanding lineman. The Huskies face the Regina Rams in the Hardy Cup this weekend. And high school football is also in playoff mode. Regina's Riffle Royals lost in the city finals last Friday, but it was an end to an outstanding season for grade 10 quarterback Xavier Gatton, garnering his team $3,000 for new football equipment. Here's how it all happened.
I just remember the pocket was kind of collapsing, so I went up, and there's guys there, so I just got out of there and saw Winter down there, so I threw it to him.
Xavier felt pressure, used athleticism to step up in the pocket. It was collapsing, stepped back, eyes downfield, looking down to his receiver, threw a bullet pass in there and got a touchdown early in the game.
I looked at my family's group chat, and there was a screenshot of an email that said, "Congratulations, Xavier." I was like shocked. I didn't even know anyone like submitted it, so it was like complete shock, and I was just super excited.
I mean, football is a pretty expensive program to run. This will help us immensely with, you know, equipment replacements, travel, food, anything that kind of helps us manage our budget.
Makes me feel great. Makes me feel like I'm doing something for the team, helping out.
So he actually started for us last year, which is pretty rare, grade 9 quarterback. Against intangibles, a very smart player, student of the game. The thing that's probably the most impressive is his arm talent. Well, he's standing here to hear me talk about him, but he can make any throw.
I feel like I've grown a lot, like with my just decision making, strength, all that, being calm on the field, having confidence. So yeah, all that.
Here's the tying run in the 5th. Strike 3. Sword from John Tumpane.
Well, some good news for Blue Jays fans still grappling with the pain of last week's World Series loss. Pitcher Shane Bieber is staying with the team rather than choosing free agency. The former Cy Young Award winner was a trade deadline acquisition from the Cleveland Guardians. His decision to stay with Toronto is a big boost for the starting rotation. However, other Blue Jays are up for free agency, including Bo Bichette, Max Scherzer, and Chris Bassett. Meantime, Major League Baseball says this year's World Series decider was the most watched baseball game in 34 years. Game 7 drew an average of 51 million people in the U.S., Canada, and Japan. The series' average of 34 million viewers per game also made it the largest global World Series audience since 1992. Well, take one last good look out at Regina without any snow on the ground because we are expecting some wintry weather to head our way. This may not be maybe the last look before we get the snow, but in the next couple of days, I think we'll see the flakes fly in the Queen City. We'll take a look now at our satellite and radar where we can see where that moisture is already starting to move into the province, falling as rain Wednesday evening through sort of west central areas around the Kindersley-Rosetown area. High pressure has kept things kind of nice and clear, especially in eastern sections, but that cloud cover has started to build in. By the wee hours Thursday, we're going to start to see that probably that rain change over to snow in and around that Highway 16 corridor from Saskatoon up toward the Lloydminster area. Showers will begin to move into southern Saskatchewan for the commute Thursday morning, while snow continues to fall sort of along and north of the Highway 16 corridor, really through the province as we get into the morning hours. By the noon hour, most of that snow will begin to shift eastward and into the Parkland region. That's kind of where by the time it's time to commute home, we'll see that snow moving into kind of east central and southeastern Saskatchewan. Another band of rain moving through the south will then kind of merge with that snow, and that'll taper off as it starts to move out. But that's not the only system we're watching. Come Friday, we're looking at this low moving in from Alberta, bringing some snow and some rain to southwestern and south central areas, maybe getting as far north as the Regina area before this area of high pressure moves in from the north, and that is really going to cool things down as we get into the weekend. So the first batch of snow, I think at most we're looking for maybe 5 to 10 centimeters in areas from Prince Albert up toward Meadow Lake. Saskatoon and Humboldt, Wynyard, probably about 2 to 4 centimeters. The Yorkton area, the Parkland region, maybe upwards of 5 centimeters. Regina, maybe a couple of centimeters of snow on the ground, but I think kind of the next threat for us comes with that system Friday. Parts of southwestern Saskatchewan may be looking for 5 to 10 centimeters from that system. Of course, the south, from this first round, also looking at some rain, maybe 5 to 10 millimeters in sections there. The rain that you see through central Saskatchewan, pretty confident at this point that that's going to actually be falling as snow. Winds are going to pick up a bit as we see this system move through as well, especially for Thursday afternoon in southwestern Saskatchewan. They'll die down as we head into Friday, but start to pick up again in extreme southern sections as that next system starts to roll in. So Regina, I'm calling it about maybe 1 to 3 millimeters or centimeters, depending on what we end up getting. It's still going to be balmy for Thursday before temperatures start to drop into Friday. And for the game, the Western Final on Saturday, boy, it's going to be chilly by game's end because we're probably going to drop down into minus double digits overnight. But we recover nicely for the start of the next week as we jump in above seasonal once again. Saskatoon, about 2 to 4 centimeters, maybe some rain mixed in there. Of course, you also have a football Friday, or Saturday rather, with the Hardy Cup in town, which will be chilly as well, before we finally get back to normal and above that with temperatures into the start of next week. Well, it is a show that everyone has front row seats to, no matter where you are. Here is the supermoon, seen rising from different parts of the world. It's classified as a supermoon when it's at the closest point in its orbit around Earth. This one is even more special because it is the biggest and brightest one in 2025. In North America, any full moon in November is also called the beaver moon. It's the time of the year when those industrious rodents are very active as they get ready for winter. Stay with us. We have more news for you after the break. The annual service of remembrance for the public service was held Wednesday morning in the rotunda of the provincial legislature. Canadian Armed Forces personnel, veterans, public servants, dignitaries, and members of the Legislative Assembly attended. This year's ceremony observed the 80th anniversary of the end of the Second World War.
In May of 1945, the guns fell silent in Europe with the surrender signed in Berlin. Reminders of the cost of peace. They speak to a time when the world was fractured by violence. And yet from that darkness, hope emerged, carried by those who served, many of whom never returned. And among those who answered the call were public servants, individuals who dedicated their lives to the service of their communities and their country. Now, some returned home forever changed, and others made the ultimate sacrifice. And it's our duty to ensure that their names, their stories, and their service are never forgotten. And certainly their legacy is woven into the very fabric of our democracy and our freedom.
Well, our wintry weather starts as we go overnight into Thursday, particularly in west central Saskatchewan. There, I think, is where we'll start to see the beginnings of that snow moving in. For northern Saskatchewan, we're looking at mostly cloudy skies overnight. That snow line you see there just reaching areas kind of to the south of La Ronge. I think the north largely spared. The far north actually looking at a sunny day for Thursday, but it'll be cold with temperatures into the minus double digits. For south and central, the commute starts Thursday with rain in the south, including in Regina. Snow has moved out of Saskatoon, but continuing through the northern grain belt there before that switches into the Parkland region as we get into the afternoon. And another band of rain starting to move through the south as we get later into the afternoon. And look at the difference in temperatures there. Double digits closer to the U.S. border, but below the freezing mark as we get into the northern grain belt. And that is our news for this Wednesday. For more news anytime, you can always head to our website or subscribe to the CBC Saskatchewan YouTube channel. You can also download the CBC News app on your smartphone or tablet. Thanks so much for watching.